Bill and Scott's here.
Hey, guys.
The computer audio. Let's see if it works.
How you feeling, Jeremy?
It worked.
I'm feeling good. Just a little bit of congestion and been tired as hell, but I got my second shot too. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to tell what's what.
Yeah.
My blood work came back saying that I've got antibodies.
Okay.
So,
If you were the family need anything, you know, reach out.
I will. I sure appreciate that, Scott. Thank you. All right. Is this everybody? We're all here? Kind of looks that way. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. First item is the approval of the March 25th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it passes. Now it looks like staff has got a capital improvement program presentation or update for us.
Hey, Jody, is Brandon logged on yet?
I'm here now.
Okay,
I think Scott's here too.
Yeah, Scott's listening in. Should be.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, had some technical difficulties getting in. Sorry, folks.
Brandon, you're going to cover these, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I may have missed any conversation.
No, we're at the CIP updates.
Okay. Yep. Let's do that then. Yeah. So Jody sharing the screen. Great. Thank you. So Van Gaskin Park, we're currently right in the middle of finishing up the cultural resources permitting and working well with our consultant and the tribes and Department of Historic or DHAP, Historic and Archaeological Preservation. Still hopeful for like a late May advertisement, but that's so we're nearing the finish line of the design. Still some SEPA permitting to go through, but I think we kind of had some discussion about this previous at council showing the concept. So that's nothing real new there. The next two items, both the City Hall heat pumps and the Senior Activity Center floor are on consent tonight. The City Hall heat pumps are more of a building maintenance replacement item. We've got some aging equipment that is needing replacement, and we've been keeping probably 2 or 3 years. We've been keeping it working, and so it's time. And then the activity floor, some of you are familiar with some of the moisture problems we've had with the floor buckling and creating potential trip hazards. I think we're using, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, I think we're using some of the Provine Estate funding for some of this, but we're going to use the same floor we did at the auditorium. They're a little more involved because there's removal of the existing floor, car decking, to get down to the concrete, prep the concrete, then install this new floor. So that's also on consent tonight. The Midway Park expansion, this is Scott's favorite because he likes to tear the houses down. And but we've got if you recall, we demolished that first corner house. Then we had a vacant lot south of that, mostly vacant, and that's all been cleared. If you've been out there, thank you, Jody, for sliding out. That's all been cleared. If you've been out there, just looks fantastic. The next fourplex that will come down is not the one immediately south, but the sort of the middle one. There's 3 fourplexes before you get to the Stafford homes, and so the middle fourplex has been vacated. We're doing asbestos abatement late, maybe early May, trying to get that scheduled. The survey's been done, and we'll schedule the demolition soon after that, but possibly mid to late May for the demolition. And then the fourplex, the northern fourplex, will be vacated by the property owners October 21. So this October, both those 2 properties were fully funded by grants. So that's exciting. And while we were out there in the past couple of weeks, the third fourplex just north of Stafford owner has approached the city about a willingness to sell. So we are going to keep their contact information as we try to seek further grant funds. The Cecil Powell Park, working through the design, we're kind of we were trying to do something similar to what we did at Westwood and keep it in scale with the neighborhood. Our budget, I think, is just under 90,000. So we're trying to work with that. Costs have gone up in the last couple of years, but we're working with our consultant to get a sort of a right-sized play structure for that neighborhood. It would include, some picnic benches and benches and new the fall protection chips. So that's in design. And then the other thing that was scheduled for our work this year was the field house interior paint. We're not actively pursuing bids right now. That's a great project that could be done this fall. I know that there's no real activity happening. So that on that hand, it would be great to do that now, but we're really juggling the top 5 projects you see there. And trying to get those done in the summer, and the interior painting, those are great projects when it's raining or you're not so much weather dependent. I'd be happy to answer some questions. Scott's also on the line if you have specific questions on any of these 6 projects, at least from the building and facility standpoint.
Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Chair. So Brandon, on the Midway Park expansion, I realize that we cannot do any reconstruction in terms of putting up a building or anything. What's the proposal for those properties then, as they come down, and the ones that are already down? What are we planning to do there?
So Brandon, if you like, I can address that one.
You want to take it, Susan? Go ahead.
Councilmember Bang. So as you know, we're starting on our Parks, Rec, and Senior Services Master Plan update. And as part of the scope for that, we've asked the consultant to create a couple of landscape options. And we intend to seek feedback from the community about what they would like to see for that area.
So is that going to be like a survey for them? Is it going to be like renditions set up so people can come by and have an idea, or is it all of the above?
So our consultant is right now producing the public involvement plan, but what we've discussed with them is that they may set up at the park once they have those 2 concepts for people to kind of react to.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Susan.
And if I may add, Chair Nutting, so one thing, Councilmember Banks, it's really critical about those 4 pieces is as they've come down, the visibility corridors are increased hugely, which helps with the SEPTED approach to making sure that that park is safe 24/7.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Was there anyone else?
Yes, Chair.
Deputy Mayor Mahoney.
So about when do you think that the Midway Park will be open? Probably by summertime with the new additional property and the development and design? Or do you think it's gonna be a little later than that? By next summer?
Yeah, probably next summer be doable. I know, as the demolitions are complete, I know that Scott Romano is working with our contractor. We're doing some preliminary grading, and we are putting in some hydroseeding and things like that to kind of match it in with the grade of the current park. But as we get those final designs complete, then we'll get that implemented early next year. But people should be able to start using some of that space, perhaps even as early as this summer,
Oh,
once the
wow.
grass comes in.
Fantastic. And I agree with you, City Manager Matthias, that it's going to be a lot safer park with the sight lines being opened up like they are. On the Cecil Powell Park, are you thinking the play equipment's would we vision it looking a lot like that, what you did at the city park?
No, it would look more, we started with Westwood as kind of a base with a swing and then another piece of equipment. And to be honest, the initial cut, the cost came in over our budget. And so what we're trying to do is refine it with maybe a same company, but a slightly different piece of equipment. We thought it'd just be easier, but that maybe fit better with that park and got closer to our budget. But we were kind of significantly over, and so as soon as we have some information, we're getting that next week, we can share that. As far as the look of it, once we get a concept, I'd be happy to update the committee and at least give kind of a visual of, hey, here's what the equipment will look like.
Okay, thank you. And last question. So on the senior activity center, I think it's great. We're going to redo the floor. Have you guys kind of assessed, you're not anticipating any additional problems once you tear the floor up? It should just be like, get that up and do a leveler and then be able to put the floor down. Is that what you're pretty much thinking?
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily guarantee the work, but that is the same it's the same approach, and Scott can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. Same approach as we had with the auditorium, where this product is not a wood product. So, I mean, the floor at times we've had some moisture issues, but this would be a non-wood product that would manage the change in concrete, the moisture content of the concrete. What we have there, that's going to get removed is sort of old car decking that doesn't handle the temperature change and moisture that gets into the concrete very well. And so going with kind of a vinyl or composite product will alleviate that. So that's my expectation, is that we don't have these issues anymore. Scott, anything to add to that? Scott Romano?
Yeah, we're opting for, after they float and level the concrete floor, we're going to put down a complete epoxy vapor barrier so that we don't have any moisture issues to deal with in the future. So my hope is when we're done with this, we'll occasionally have to repair or replace a damaged plank. That's easy to do, but we're going to be done with total floor redos.
Great. Love to hear it. Okay, thank you. That's the questions I had.
Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Just one more question on the Senior Activity Center floor. It's being totally replaced. Is there salvageability for that wood floor, or is it that bad?
It's that bad, and it's got so many fasteners. Some are seen, some are hidden and concealed that you don't know they're there until you try and peel up that plank and something's holding it.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful
Yeah,
floor.
some of that floor will probably come with concrete adhered to the bottom.
Okay.
And so that's why Scott was mentioning the leveling, sort of a treatment that needs to be done prior to we even, the floor is the easy part. The prep on this one is the removal and prep is the bulk of this heavy work.
Wow. Thank you both.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for the update. Looks like we'll move forward to the Marina Master Plan Phase 2.
And where did Scott go?
Yeah, here. Thank you, Chair Nutting, council members and staff. Scott with the Des Moines Marina. I'm here tonight with Katie Bevegny, our Assistant Harbor Master. We appreciate Dan being on the line, but he's gonna hopefully only interrupt if we mess up really bad. So we appreciate that. So if we can let Katie share.
Yep.
Wrong one, Katie.
I know. I'm working on it. I always forget how to do this. So how do I change screen? Oh.
There you go. There you go. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you. So appreciate this tonight. Next slide, please, Katie.
Mhm.
So tonight, our purpose and objective really quickly is to kind of let you know where we've been, where we kind of are, and what's our next steps moving forward in the months to come. So so far we've had our presentation to the city council. That was with city staff and also with the Wagner Phase 2 report. We've had marina stakeholders, which included the DMMA. And we also sent out 600 invitations to our marina tenants for that meeting. That was a YouTube meeting also. We had about 30 people attend that. And that was nice to see. All those presentations, all those forms, all those the documents, the condition reports and everything else are on our marina website for anybody to view. That YouTube video is on there also. And then during that time, we created a working Q&A document, and we put an email address out there for all of our tenants to send questions, comments, or concerns on any information that we have out there on the reports and different things. And so tonight we've responded to those, and we'll continue to respond to those as that's a working document that's going to go on for a long, long time, because as we get more questions, we'll get more answers. Mm-hmm. And so tonight we're going to review just a few of them, and I'll let Katie talk about that.
Yeah, so we kind of classified the comments. So we got about 30 or so questions and or comments. And we kind of put them in these 7 categories where we have our slip mix, covered versus open, our guest moorage, upland uses and interface questions, our adaptive building, dry stack storage, and our financing rates, and just some general questions. We pulled about 5 questions from these categories that we're going to go over, and we'll start with that. So one of the first questions we received was related to our slip mix questions. The question was pivoting to 50-foot slips from, and our comment was pivoting to 50-foot slips from smaller slips does not serve the residents of Des Moines, but the wealthy boat owners, many of whom are not residents of the city. So we had a few comments with this. This is certainly a policy question for the future of the marina. It's the slip mix, and it's one of the big ones. But we wanted to clarify a few of that information. I got this that over. So the city hasn't really made a distinction between large boats and small boats and what's the priority in that. We are here to serve our boating community as a whole. So we try to serve them all, and it really comes down to really just that. The value of the marina to the city, remembering that no property taxes go to support the marina, is its access, recreation, and opportunities to enjoy the sound that are the hallmark of the value to our citizens. With regards to the wealth, it's really just a relative term, as boating is a recreational activity. The focus and goal of the marina should be to specifically serve the entire Puget Sound region boating community, and not just those that are the Des Moines residents. The comment assumes that the marina serves just the residents, when we did a study of our current residents, current tenants. Approximately 24% of those tenants were Des Moines residents, leaving 76 from outside of the city. A lot of you probably recall the study we did a few years ago with to see who was visiting the marina on the land side. We did that license plate study that came back about 80% of visitors were from outside of the city. That data does indicate that the Des Moines Marina has a value as a regional asset and serves the region on both the land and the water side of the marina. The comment also assumes that the Des Moines residents don't own large boats. We can pull from our current system that data as well, where it shows that 23% of the Des Moines residents with boats at the marina own 32-foot and larger boats, and more here year round. The comment also assumes that the marina cannot accommodate smaller boats. As we've said in many of our meetings, is that we plan to do that with our adaptive purpose building and incorporating a dry stack storage area. It'll also help reduce the number of derelict boats that we have in the marina.
Okay, another question that came up in our slip mix was, I would argue that the configuration proposed by the consultant is much more aggressive than what would serve the residents and those who have been supporting the marina for the past 10 years. So the response that staff came up with is somewhat support for the marina is not provided by Des Moines residents, but by the marina tenants. And we need to remember those words, tenants and residents, because we'll talk about that a little later on in the presentation. But also the perspective of the consultant is based on establishing the most viable, healthy, safe, solvent, and sustainable marina possible for all future users and trends in the Pacific Northwest boating community. So we'll have a policy question down the road that will be concerned for the council, and it should be, should the marina feel obligated to the tenants who have benefited from long-term moorage at the marina? So these are going to be hard questions to answer, but we'll have to talk about it. Next slide. This was a comment from the guest moorage, and it says, I believe the path to connecting the city is an important decision, and I believe that if done, it will improve the use of the marina, and it will bring more day use to the marina, which will increase the use of smaller boats. We agree with that. Planned side development on the marina could generate more guest moorage or day use moorage. Our master plan is designed to accommodate that potential for expanded guest moorage in those areas. One option being considered is M&N docks. When we replace those, is to shift all the covered moorage over to M dock. We know those are different size slips and there'll have to be some arranging at that time, but that can be worked out. But that'll leave N dock with open moorage, creating a possibility for expanding guest moorage into that dock in the future, which will be able to accommodate all types of boats and sizes and everything else. As that development and economic activity expands on the marina floor in the downtown area. Guest moorage can be designed in a way to accommodate various sizes of boats, and will all participate in the increased activity on the marina floor and its connection to the new downtown corridor. And if there's a question, please jump, but we'll get through real quickly for you. This was a question about our marina upland use and the interface. So the comment was, connecting the city and marina will be an expensive endeavor, but if done, will massively enhance the businesses in the city and will increase the value of all taxpayers. And we again agree upon this. There's a synergistic relationship between the marina and the city, and the interface needs to be well thought out. The development of this interface and visioning is what the city has been working on with the Holmes Group, Skylabs, the Wagoner Group, and the community over the last few years. The productivity and the vibrance of the interface area will support the future needs of both the marina and the city. This is a comment about the multi-use building and the dry stack storage. There's a picture on the left that's just for reference right now, but the building if you build a dry stack facility similar to what is on Lake Union is not attractive and will be a bone of contention for the condos that would be looking at the boat stack. Our response for this is the condo owners will not see the dry stack storage. It can be incorporated into the adaptive purpose building. All the workings will be in the interior, which will be leaving the condo owners looking at green roofs, seating, maybe cafes, and a pedestrian walkway that to use to enhance the current views and the overall aesthetics of the marina. Our next slide. So those are just 5 things. As Katie stated, there's been many, many questions. We'll provide those questions and our answers, and all along with Mark's answers, hopefully tomorrow on our website. And also we'll send them all to you in a PDF, so you all have those. Just way too many questions to kind of go over this evening. But we wanted just to get you some of that information out there. So coming up next, council meeting on the 6th, we'll be bringing back more questions and answers and responses to those things. We'll be reviewing the statement of qualifications, hopefully getting close to a consultant selection. Once those consultants are close, then we'll start looking at hard facts, timelines, costs, permittings, mitigations, and all those things that are going to be very important to get us out there. And then we also have what I spoke about a little bit earlier about defining specific terms and reason. And just for example, there's the enterprise fund, mitigation, tenant versus resident, like I said, slip mix, working marina. You might hear things on monolithic docks, concrete docks, freeboard, all these different words and terms. So we're putting together kind of a glossary or a definition of terms with all this verbiage that's used out here in the marine industry and what you'll be hearing. And why is this important is for all of us. But I mean, just as an example for council, if you're out speaking with somebody and someone says, well, I've been a resident for 20 years, well, is that a resident or have you been a tenant of the marina for 20 years? So it's terms that we just need to really define to make sure when we're talking with people, we're all on the same page and everybody understands and we're consistent with when we're discussing things like that. And so we'll be putting that together too and getting that on our website. And then we need to start working on our harbor code as we start to rebuild here upland and in the water. We need to just tighten that up. It's been quite a few years and we need to make sure that everything's in line with what we're doing and keeping everybody safe. And then lastly, there we have our tenant restroom. Real quick is, as we know, we're building a new tenant restroom in the south parking lot. We were talking about putting a 2nd floor on there for a rental facility or public access facility. We kind of found out that financially that wasn't going to happen because we'd have to make it elevator and ADA and things like that. So that just put the price way overhead. So we're looking at next steps, putting that in that adaptive use building. But next steps would be thoughts, and these are thoughts right now as Andrew goes out for construction in the north parking lot with the new bathroom, maybe kind of dovetailing on that and say, hey, while you're here, why not build 2 of them? So we're going to work on that, and that way we'll have that consistency of the look. Like everybody likes to have things look, cohesive and nice, and so we already have that design. It's been approved by council, and just continue that same theme and change the interior as needed and put in the laundry facility and things like that. But still, everything would look good, and a lot of that work's already been done, and I thank Andrew for that. But that's where we're at for that. So our last slide. So all we can say is we continue to encourage our tenants and to submit questions and comments to the Marina Master Plan website. We also have all these presentations on the website for anybody to look at and comment and whatever we need to do. And it's just moving forward as time goes on. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me, Scott, is it possible, I know you weren't able to provide all the questions, but I'd be curious to see what those questions are and your responses to them.
Yes.
Is it possible to have the committee see those
Yes.
questions?
No. Hopefully tomorrow Katie can get all the questions that we have had given to us and asked of us, and then our responses and comments. And like I say, that'll be a living document that'll change. And the more we learn about what we're doing, those questions might become a stronger question, or they could be irrelevant. But yes, we'll get that out. We'll get that out to you hopefully tomorrow.
This is a really good presentation, and I don't know, I guess we're just never finished learning. So I've still learned a lot, and I know it's extremely difficult to separate out tenant versus resident, and a lot of what people may feel is the reason why they bought those condos.
Yeah.
So, we've learned a lot about air rights
Yeah.
and, and it would be good if, once this is presented to council, but not only that, encourage, and we will, our citizens to read what's going on the Marina Master Plan, but also go online and take a look at it.
Yeah.
Read, see what's
Yeah.
going on, learn.
Yeah, and yeah, Katie's reaching, like I say, she sent out 600 plus emails to our tenants to just remind them to get involved and be here for us.
Deputy Mayor Mahoney?
Thank you, Chair. Did you mention any kind of deadline on continuing to get questions and feedback? Is there one set at all, or?
No, as Katie says, no, we want, the more we learn, the more we're going to have questions, and that's important. So yes, I hope they
Okay.
just keep coming.
Love that answer. I think as more information opens up, I think we'll get more questions. On the restrooms, now I know that in the Redondo area, the format's being changed of individual bathrooms versus men's and women's and so forth. Did you get any questions or pushback or challenge on that?
Well, I believe the restroom Andrew is having designed is a multifamily restroom in the north parking lot. The south parking lot will be strictly for tenants, but we will provide one stall for the walkers, as I call them, that will be a multi-use for them. And then we hope to put on a laundry facility for our tenants and our guest mortgage tenants. So it'll be more private for the tenants on this one.
Okay. And the last question, the presentations that I saw over the last couple of weeks made it abundantly clear to be able to build these new docks and replace them and so forth. And there's lots of decisions in that. But what was really clear was we have to do business differently to make and generate more revenue so we get more docks done in a shorter window of time to meet all the deadlines, or what I say, when the docks go dead.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked about how you're going to be messaging that out? And a strategy that obviously council would want as well, so we can help you in that regard.
Yeah.
So has there been any conversation about that yet, or is that kind of something you're thinking about with as you go forward?
Well, it's always in the back of your mind, and especially what money is. And I'm really looking forward to getting some feedback from the engineers and the whomever we pick for the engineering firm and everything else, so we can get some hard numbers, so we really know what we can do with the money that we have available or can have available in the future. So that one's hard, and Michael probably has.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, the replacement of multiple docks and reconfiguration of things is going to cost a significant amount of money. But I think what Scott, to his credit, is working on, and Dan's been a huge part of this as well, has been, the issue of how do we, it's not so much acquire it quickly, but how do we maximize our revenue? And what services and quality of mortgage and dry stack storage and all of those, how do we take advantage of those paying for what we need? One of the best pieces of news about finance, and this is not comprehensive, so it's just a vignette in the context, right? Is that we have about $7 million of prior bonds for marina improvements that are going to roll over in 2022. And if we renew those to do some of the dock replacement, with our increase in bond rating, we'll be able to acquire more funds than what we were previously. So I think those are all, and that's not the complete answer, but definitely movement in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And things you do in the past that pay off for the future are being fulfilled. Though another thing, that example why I asked about the messaging is, so I got in a conversation with about 3 or 4 smaller boat owners that use some of the covered mortgage and some of the other docks. And, it was the reason why I came up with it is I found it a long conversation but at the end, I think it was successful where I talked about how we had to think about doing business differently, where everybody's service, it's just not, it can't continue to be the same old same, right? Get the docks built with a new facility. And, you know, you fortunately I'd been to your presentation, so I was able to share some of the things you were talking about in the dry storage. And I think some efforts with those particular docks as early as we can start is going to be beneficial because, you know, if they don't know the truth or don't hear from you, they make it up. And I think if you could make an effort in those particular docks and where their future is, you know, rumor travels at 1,000,000 miles an hour, right?
Yes.
And the fact is once they hear the truth, they're like, oh, because there are a few of them, quite honestly, had misperceptions. Like they had misperceptions that we were doing away with them. And I said, no, we just have to do it differently. And you have to think of it differently. And so anyway, that's all I can encourage that we do that. Because I think if we start sowing the seeds early, at least the process is going to be a little less painful, you might say. Thank you, Chair.
I appreciate
That's what I had.
I got Dan Brewer and then Michael Matthias, and then we
Okay.
I have 2 questions and then we gotta move on.
I got to leave my video off, otherwise this won't work. So a couple of things just to add on, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, to your question. I think part of the master plan is developing a relative priority and an organization about how to make financial reinvestments into the marina and the process of which we would go about doing that. To be honest, I think, you know, we are likely not going to have a full financial picture of how to accomplish everything that needs to be done as we start the work, but we'll have a variety of ideas and concepts for additional revenue that'll be needed to complete the capital projects. And, you know, I think Scott and Katie and I were talking with some folks on the marina, some tenants earlier this week. And, you know, the reality is the revenue will be multi-streamed, multifaceted. That is what's going to happen. It's not going to be one revenue source that'll solve the problem. And I know that this comment will get me in some hot water, but hey, what the heck? You know, I just want to pose this as a question, and I'm not suggesting that we're going to do this, but what if we eliminated all the small boats in the marina? I mean, I understand where you're coming, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, but this is a choice that we have to make for the future of the marina. And it's just something we're gonna have to wade through.
Dan, it's interesting you said that because that was one of my arguments. And it did sink in. So it was the choices that have to be made are tough. The fact that what I added was the fact that you were doing everything you could to consider options for these boat owners to give them an opportunity to use the marina was a huge plus as we move forward. And like I said, it's about doing business differently than they have for the last 50 years to make sure this is the marina we need it all to be, all of us need it to be.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. And we sure do appreciate the idea of, we understand we need to communicate often and frequently, and then some more. So we'll keep doing that. We'll keep meeting with folks. If you have questions from folks, do point them to the marina website. We've got all the presentations, all the documents up there. There's a lot of information we're gathering. So people, even if they haven't seen it yet, they could go and listen to those presentations. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Michael, you had something to add?
Just one quick comment. I agree basically with what Dan's talking about, but I think that it behooves us at the 50-year anniversary of the marina
Last year.
to be open-minded about any choices and configurations that will put us in the best possible shape for the future.
Yeah.
So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Right. I just got 2 quick questions there. Is this presentation that we got tonight going to be on the website as well?
Yes, it will.
And will this be the presentation that will be presented to council on the 6th of May?
I think it'll be some of this, but it'll be a variation.
Version of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Probably
it.
be an updated version of this.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Well, thank you, guys. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. If that's it on that topic, we got a update on passenger ferry service.
Right. So let me provide that. You know, passenger ferry service is something that's been talked about for many years in Des Moines and regionally as well. And a while back, and this is just kind of a summary of the whole picture quickly. A while back, we had some conversations with Kevin Clark, who's the president of Argosy. And that was probably 3 to 4 years ago. And it didn't look like Des Moines, we never could get on the King County taxi, water taxi routes. And, you know, the Washington State ferries are powerful. And it didn't seem like it was entirely feasible idea, but it was certainly worth exploring. So we met with Kevin and he had some interest in you know, service from Des Moines. And he said, but you really need to do a demand analysis. So we did that and we hired Liz Deirdrick from Minnesota to do the analysis. We followed some of the approaches that were being used in San Francisco Bay. And they, right before COVID started their demand analysis under contract with the city. And even though COVID was happening, as they've completed their analysis, there's a very strong demand for ferry service from Des Moines, South King County residents of other areas. People see it as an incredible opportunity to do both commuting, recreation, get to the airport, all of those things. At the same time, PSRC did a study and they promised to include our independent analysis in their study and then essentially didn't. And I had it confirmed the other day by someone involved with that process that our study was really good. So if you compare them, not everybody's going to come out looking great. So at any rate, what happened next was about a year ago, we had Mr. Ryan Mello, who is a Tacoma City Council member and now on the Pierce County Commission, come up to Des Moines, take a look at what we were trying to do and thinking about, very, you know, introductory terms. And he's interested in expanding ferry service from Tacoma. So last week, surprisingly, we had a meeting down in Tacoma at Point Ruston, where they have a couple of landing sites. And Ryan was there, a gentleman named Tim Thompson, who's involved in government relations, Anthony Hempstead from our crew, Scott came down, Eric Lane, who's helping with economic development, was there, Peter Phillips was there, Ryan chaired the meeting, and there was a gentleman who builds electrified hydroplanes in San Francisco, also came up as an alternative as some, you know, possibility of a vendor for boats. And we had a great discussion, kind of walked the potential landing sites, talked about steps forward. One of the critical steps forward is to identify exactly what the financial costs would be of doing something like this between different jurisdictions. How could we arrange a public-private partnership? And ultimately, how could we engage our congressional delegation in supporting this? So it's been remarkable to me how quickly this has moved forward as an item of interest. And I'm not saying an item of substance yet, or an item of, we have a plan to go from A to B or any of that, but there is a lot of interest in creating ferry service from South Sound through Des Moines to Seattle, and possibly including other sites, maybe Bainbridge or Bremerton or over thereabouts. So I just wanted to bring the council up to the committee up to speed with that. And no decisions have been made one way or the other. It's completely exploratory. But when we have hard facts and information and cost structure and all that kind of thing, we want to bring it back to council and just say, here are what potential opportunities are going to look like. So I just wanted to bring you up to date with that today. And Jeremy, I'm sorry that you're going to have to sit through this again.
No worries, man. I enjoy hearing about it.
In economic development, yeah.
Yeah. Any questions from my fellow council members?
I just got a
Deputy Mayor
comment.
Mahoney?
Michael, I can't tell you how excited I am about the potential of an electric ferry, because I think that would be a slam dunk, out of the park home run. You know, in this area and all of the rest of the great work we're doing environmentally, that would be such a good story. So I hope that one comes to fruition, because I think, you know, we'd be leading edge if we
Deputy
were
Mayor,
doing
I
that.
think it's interesting to have this report concurrent with SR3 having their grand opening this morning. And there specifically, I know that they received quite a sum of money to look at impacts to orcas in Puget Sound. And so if we could address the noise aspect of the environmental mitigation, that would really be hand in glove with what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you for that comment.
I think that's it. Councilmember Bangs, anything? All right. Well, staff, nice job on everything. It's good to see we're moving forward with the things, and thanks to the team for keeping us on schedule. I guess we'll adjourn, and I'll see some of you guys here in a few minutes.
See you later.
Thank you, guys.